Welcome back to LexTalks, Legal Topics Simplified, where we try to make Indian law a little bit easier to grasp, especially for you busy law students out there.
Fine.
And today we're going to be taking a deep dive into negotiation.
Okay.
I think it's important, and it's something that we do all the time. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think, uh, you know, consciously or unconsciously, we are negotiating all the time, whether we are, interacting with family members, or friends or colleagues at the workplace. So, yes, negotiation is an important skill, as you rightly said.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like an art form when you think about it. Like, how do you even define negotiation?
So, simply put, negotiation is a process where two or more parties
Okay,
who have, different needs and goals
right.
come together and try to reach a mutually acceptable solution.
Got it.
So, yeah, that's a very basic definition of negotiation.
So it's kind of like finding that middle ground where everybody feels like, okay, I can live with this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's an important thing, to find a solution,
Right.
which is a win-win for everybody, rather than just one party trying to, bulldoze their way through.
Yeah, I was going to say it's definitely not about winning or losing. I think that's a common misconception that people have.
True, true.
It's not about that. And I think this is especially true, I would think, in Indian law.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've done a lot of research. Why don't you speak to that?
So, yeah, given the fact that in Indian law, we place a lot of importance on relationships
Okay.
and, on maintaining harmony and social order,
Got it.
negotiation as a process
Yes.
becomes very relevant because it is a way of resolving disputes amicably without, going through protracted litigation,
Yeah.
which can be, time-consuming and very expensive.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, negotiation plays a very important role in Indian law.
So it's sort of a way of keeping the peace and finding resolutions that work.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I like that. So let's kind of dig into, I know our research highlights some specific elements that define negotiation. Can you break those down for us?
Sure, sure. There are certain elements which are essential to any negotiation. First and foremost is that you need to have at least two or more parties.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. You can't really have a negotiation with yourself.
Right.
So you need to have two or more parties who are involved in the process. And secondly, there needs to be a conflict or a difference in opinion
Okay.
or goals between the parties. Because if everyone's on the same page,
Right.
then there's no need for a negotiation.
Yeah. Then it's just an agreement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you need to have that conflict, which is what necessitates the negotiation.
Right, right.
And thirdly, both parties must have the power to influence the outcome.
Okay.
Right. So this means that both parties should have something to offer, and also something to potentially concede.
So there's that give and take.
Mhm. Exactly. It's a two-way street.
Okay.
And finally, and this is very important,
Yes.
the negotiation should aim to reach a mutually satisfactory solution,
Got it.
right? It's not about, one party imposing their will on the other, but finding a solution that addresses the concerns
Right.
of both parties.
I like that.
So these are some of the, basic elements of negotiation.
So it's almost like a dance. You need two people. You need some music to move to.
Yeah.
You need to know the steps. It can't be one person just taking over the dance floor. It has to be a collaboration. I like that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, now that we've kind of laid the groundwork there, let's talk about the different stages of negotiation. Now, I know our research suggests that kind of a common framework is that there's this preparation, there's information exchange, there's bargaining, and then finally there's closing the deal. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, broadly speaking, these are the 4 stages of negotiation. And you can, break down each stage into sub-stages.
Sure.
But these are the broad, the main stages of negotiation.
Okay. And so why is this framework so important?
So, having a framework or a roadmap for negotiation
Right.
is important because it provides a structured approach to the process.
Okay.
Right? It helps you to, be more organized
Yeah.
and to approach the negotiation in a more systematic way.
So it's almost like having, when you go to court, You don't just show up. You have
Exactly.
your case files. You've thought about it.
Right.
You've prepped. So this is kind of, analogous to that in a negotiation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't just go into a negotiation blind.
Right.
You need to have a plan.
Absolutely. So let's start with that first step then, the preparation. What kind of things should law students especially be kind of thinking about in this stage?
So the preparation stage, is very crucial
Okay.
because this is where you lay the foundation for a successful negotiation.
Okay.
Right. It's like preparing for a moot court competition,
Sure.
where you would research the law,
Yeah.
gather your arguments, and you would practice your presentation.
Right.
So similarly in a negotiation,
Yeah.
preparation is all about gathering information, understanding your own goals and interests,
Okay.
and trying to anticipate, what the other party's goals
Sure.
and interests might be.
So almost like a detective in a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You need to do your homework.
Absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
so you're saying we need to know the other party's position. We need to know our position.
Yeah.
What else is there to know?
So, apart from, knowing your position and the other party's position,
Right.
it's also important to understand your BATNA.
Oh, okay. Stop right there. I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
What is BATNA?
So BATNA stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement.
Okay.
So in essence, your BATNA is your plan B.
Oh, got it.
If this negotiation falls through, what's your next best option?
Got it. So it's like having that backup plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Okay, so that's really interesting. And so now, once we've done all this preparation, what's the next step?
So once you've done your preparation,
Yeah.
you move on to the next stage,
Okay.
which is the information exchange stage.
Got it.
And this is where the dialogue begins.
Okay.
Both parties, they present their positions,
Yeah.
they outline what they hope to achieve,
Okay.
and they explain why they deserve, a particular outcome.
So it's almost like opening statements in a trial.
Yeah, it's very similar to that.
Yeah.
And at this stage, it's important to be clear,
Okay.
concise, and articulate
Right.
in presenting your case. But at the same time,
Yeah.
it's also equally important to actively listen.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that active listening. What is active listening?
So active listening is not just about, hearing the words that the other party is saying.
Okay.
It's about understanding the message that they're trying to convey.
Got it.
And it's about paying attention to both their verbal and nonverbal cues.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot going on there. It's not just about the words.
No, absolutely not. In a negotiation,
Yeah.
what is not said
Right.
is often as important
Okay.
as what is said. So you need to pay attention to.
Got it.
The other party's body language, their tone of voice, their facial expressions, all of these things convey information.
So it's almost like having another conversation happening at the same time.
Yes, absolutely. It's like a parallel conversation.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
This is like next level communication.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
It is.
So now that we've exchanged this information, we've kind of, we've done the prep, we've kind of laid out the groundwork. What's next?
So once you've, exchanged information,
Right.
you move on to the bargaining stage.
Got it.
And this is really the heart of the negotiation,
Okay.
where the real give and take happens. It's about finding common ground,
Yeah.
exploring compromises,
Okay.
and trying to craft a solution that addresses the core interests of both parties.
So it's like the negotiation dance really gets going at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can compare it to a dance.
So, each side is kind of trying to lead, but also kind of finding a way to move together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very delicate balance.
Okay.
You need to know when to push forward.
Sure.
You need to know when to concede.
Okay.
You need to be able to read the other party.
Got it.
And you need to be able to adapt your approach as the negotiation progresses.
So it's not just about sticking to some rigid plan.
No. Not at all.
It's about being flexible,
Yeah, it's very dynamic.
responsive to what the other party is doing,
Yeah, exactly.
finding creative solutions.
Yeah. And also, it's very important to maintain a respectful
Okay.
and collaborative atmosphere.
Got it.
Because even though, there might be some differences of opinion
Right.
or some conflict between the parties,
All right.
the goal is not to defeat the other party.
Right.
The goal is to reach a mutually acceptable solution.
So it's turning that conflict into a collaboration.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about working together to achieve a common goal.
All right. So assuming we've, gotten through this bargaining stage,
Mm.
what's that final stage? What does that look like?
So the final stage of the negotiation is closing the deal.
Okay.
And this is where you solidify the agreement
Okay.
that has been reached.
Got it.
This could be through a handshake,
Okay.
or it could be through a more formal written contract.
Right.
But essentially, in this stage, you outline the terms of the agreement.
Sure.
You make sure that both parties understand their obligations,
Okay.
and you ensure that there's no room for ambiguity or misunderstanding.
So it's like the final handshake.
Yeah.
Everything's been agreed upon. It's been laid out in writing. There's no question about what each side's going to be doing.
Exactly. Exactly. And,
Yeah.
it's very important in legal agreements
Sure.
to have clarity
Absolutely.
and precision.
Yeah. Dot all the I's, cross all the T's, make sure there's no room for, misinterpretations down the road.
Exactly. Exactly. And even though the formal negotiation might end
Right.
at this stage,
Right.
often the relationship between the parties continues.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
So you don't want to burn any bridges. You want to make sure that the relationship is still solid.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that's really important in Indian law too, right? Maintaining that harmony and those relationships going forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we've talked about these 4 different stages, but, obviously not every negotiation is the same.
No, absolutely not.
There are so many different, I think our research, talks about different styles,
Yeah.
different approaches. Why don't you talk about some of those for a minute?
So, there are different negotiation styles that people adopt.
Right.
Some of the most common styles are the accommodating style,
Okay.
the avoiding style, the collaborating style,
Got it.
the competing style,
Sure.
and the compromising style.
That's okay. There's a whole bunch of different
Mm.
styles. So it sounds like a negotiator needs to have a lot of different tools in their toolbox.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A skilled negotiator
Yeah.
is like a craftsman
Okay.
who has a variety of tools
Okay.
and knows which tool to use
Got it.
for a particular situation.
I like that. All right. So let's break some of these down. What does it mean to be, let's start with accommodating. What does that mean?
So the accommodating style is a style where, you prioritize maintaining relationships
Okay.
above all else.
So it's kind of being a peacemaker.
Yeah, you could say that. It's about being cooperative.
Right.
It's about being helpful.
Right.
And it's about, being willing to concede on some of your own needs and desires.
So valuing that relationship above maybe getting everything you want.
Yeah.
Okay. And when would that be something that might be helpful, especially in Indian law?
So the accommodating style
Yeah.
can be particularly useful when you're dealing with, people who are in a position of authority.
Okay.
For example, if you're negotiating with a senior colleague
Right.
or with a judge or with a client, where the relationship is very important,
Right.
then the accommodating style can be a good approach.
So knowing when to kind of
Yeah.
back down a little and make sure that the relationship is still strong.
Yeah, exactly. It
Right.
shows that you respect the other person
Okay.
and that you're willing to, maintain a harmonious working relationship.
Yeah. And I would think that in Indian culture, where, we've talked about relationships being so important,
Yes.
I would think that that's very, very useful.
It is. It is.
Okay. Now, you said there was kind of the opposite of that. What was that again?
Yeah. So on the other end of the spectrum,
Right.
you have the competing style.
Okay.
And as the name suggests,
Right.
this is a style where you are more assertive.
Okay.
You're more focused on winning.
Okay.
You want to maximize your own gains,
Sure.
even if it means pushing harder against the other party.
So this is the person who's going in for the kill.
Yeah, you could put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there are times when that's necessary,
Yeah, of course,
but you want to be careful with it.
absolutely. You don't want to be aggressive.
Right.
But there are times when, a more assertive approach is necessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got these two kind of opposites, the accommodating and the competing. Is there something kind of in the middle?
Yeah. So the compromising style
Yeah.
is somewhere in between
Okay.
the accommodating and the competing styles.
Got it.
And as the name suggests,
Right.
it's about finding a middle ground.
Okay.
It's about, making concessions to reach a solution
Sure.
that's acceptable to both parties.
Okay. So everybody walks away feeling Okay, we both got something.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
It's a more balanced approach.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Now, what was it? You talked about avoiding. What does that mean?
So the avoiding style is basically about
Yeah.
avoiding conflict.
Oh, okay. So this is the person who just says, nope, not going to do it.
Yeah, it's about, withdrawing from the negotiation
Oh,
or postponing it
sure.
or just not engaging in it at all.
Now, that sounds kind of counterintuitive. I mean, especially in law.
Yeah, it might seem that way.
Why would you want to avoid a negotiation?
But there are times when, avoidance can be a strategic choice.
Oh, interesting.
For example, if you're negotiating a minor point,
Okay.
that's not really crucial to the overall agreement.
Okay.
And you feel that, by avoiding that particular issue,
Right.
you can maintain a positive relationship with the other party,
Oh, I see.
then avoidance might be a good strategy.
So it's kind of picking your battles
Yeah, exactly.
and knowing when to kind of let the little things slide.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to let go of the small things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned, I think, one more, the collaborating style. What does that mean?
Yeah, so the collaborating style is a very,
Yeah.
it's a very positive style.
Okay.
It's about working together
Okay.
to find a win-win solution
Got it.
that maximizes the benefits for both parties.
So everybody walks away feeling like they got what they wanted.
Yeah, and it also strengthens the relationship between the parties.
Right, because they work together.
Exactly. So it's a very, it's a very positive approach.
All right. So I like that. You have this whole range.
Yeah.
You have the person who's very, focused on their goals, and then you have the peacemaker, and you have the avoider,
Yeah.
and everything in between.
And a good negotiator will be able to use all of these styles,
Right.
depending on the situation.
So, it's not about saying this is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
It's about being kind of versatile,
Absolutely.
being adaptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So now that we've kind of laid that groundwork,
Yeah.
talked about these different styles,
Yeah.
what else do we need to know as we kind of go deeper into this negotiation process?
So, apart from the styles,
Yeah.
there are also a number of tactics
Okay.
that negotiators use
Got it.
to try and, achieve their goals.
Okay.
And these tactics can be, very subtle,
Sure.
or they can be more overt.
Okay.
But, it's important to be aware of these tactics
Okay.
so that you can, identify them when they're being used against you,
Got it.
and also so that you can use them,
Yeah.
effectively yourself.
So it's kind of like having those moves.
Yeah.
Now that you've got the steps down, what are those little extra moves?
Exactly.
Can you just tell me?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
some of the common tactics that negotiators use are anchoring.
Anchoring. What is that?
Yeah. So anchoring is a tactic where you set a high initial demand
Okay.
or offer
Got it.
in order to, shift the other party's expectations.
Oh, interesting. So it's like you're setting that bar really high, knowing you might have to come down.
Exactly. Exactly.
But you're starting from a point that's advantageous to you.
Yeah. You're trying to, create a frame of reference.
Right. Okay. So you're kind of setting the stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Got it. And I would think that would be very effective, especially if the other party doesn't really know
Yeah,
what that value is, what that thing is worth.
absolutely. If they are uncertain about the value,
Right. Right.
then anchoring can be a very effective tactic.
Okay.
Another tactic is leveraging your BTNA.
Okay. And so we talked about that, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement.
Yeah.
But how do you actually use that?
So, your BTNA is your walkaway point.
Okay.
So if the other party's offer doesn't meet your minimum requirements,
Right.
and you have a strong BATNA,
Right.
then you are more likely to, walk away from the negotiation.
Got it. Got it. So it's not just about having it, it's about knowing when to use it.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you the power
Oh,
to
okay.
walk away.
I like that. I like that. So you're not just stuck.
Yeah.
You're not, you're not kind of trapped in that situation. You can say, well, I've got this other thing I can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another tactic is the good cop, bad cop routine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen that in the movies, but does that actually work in real life?
Yeah, it can work in real life.
Right.
Basically, one person plays the tough guy.
Right.
The other person plays the nice guy.
Okay.
And the idea is to make the bad cop seem so unreasonable
Right.
that the other party is more likely to, you know, agree to the good cops offer.
Oh, I see. I see. So it's a kind of, I mean, even though it seems theatrical,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I guess, creating a comparison where one seems so much better.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And then
Yeah.
there are a number of nonverbal tactics.
Right. We talked about that a little bit, the body language, the tone of voice, all of that.
Yeah.
But how do we even learn how to kind of decipher that?
So, understanding nonverbal communication is all about observation.
Okay.
You need to pay attention to the other party's body language, their facial expressions, their tone of voice, their gestures. All of these things convey information.
Got it.
So, for example, if someone is saying yes,
Yeah.
but they're shaking their head,
Oh, okay.
then that's a sign that they might not really be in agreement.
Or if they say, yes, yes, I'm so glad we could come to this agreement, but they're frowning.
Exactly. Exactly. So you need to look for those inconsistencies.
So it's kind of being a detective,
Yeah,
looking for those little clues.
absolutely. And
Right.
once you start to, understand nonverbal communication,
Right.
you can use it to your advantage.
Right, to tailor your own approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. This is so fascinating. It's almost like you're giving us this secret decoder ring
Yeah.
to unlock this whole language we didn't even know existed.
It is a language.
Yeah.
It's a very subtle language,
Okay.
but it's a very powerful language.
Well, I'm glad we're learning it.
Yeah.
All right.
And even with all of these, even if you have the best preparation, the best tactics,
Right.
and you're a master of nonverbal communication,
Sure.
there are still times when negotiations can run into problems.
Oh, of course, of course.
There can be disagreements. There
Yeah.
can be deadlocks.
Right, right. Even the best laid plans.
Yeah.
Sometimes they go astray.
Yeah, and it's important to be prepared for these challenges
Absolutely.
and to have strategies for dealing with them.
So let's talk about some of these maybe potential roadblocks
Yeah.
that we might run into.
Sure. So some of the common roadblocks that negotiators face
Yeah.
are lack of trust,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
hidden agendas.
Right. If you don't know what the other side really wants.
Yeah. The fear of losing faith.
Okay. So that's more of an emotional thing.
Yeah, yeah. The curse of knowledge.
Curse of knowledge. What's that?
So the curse of knowledge is a cognitive bias
Okay.
where, experts tend to assume that others have the same level of understanding.
Oh, okay. So like,
Yeah.
because I understand it, everybody understands it.
Yeah, yeah. So, for example, if you're a lawyer,
Right.
you might assume that your client understands all the legal jargon
Right, right, right.
that you're using, but that might not be the case.
And that could cause problems.
Absolutely. It can lead to miscommunication, misunderstandings, and, it can even derail the negotiation.
Yeah. Yeah. So being aware of that and making sure you're explaining things clearly.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about, I know, emotions are a big part of this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What about when things start to get a little heated?
So emotional volatility
Right.
is another roadblock
Okay.
that negotiators often face. Negotiations can be stressful.
Right.
They can be emotionally charged.
Right. Especially if it's something really important.
Yeah. And it's important to be aware of your own emotions.
Right.
And to be able to manage them effectively.
So like not letting your emotions take over.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't want to let your emotions cloud your judgment
Right.
or lead you to make rash decisions.
Okay. So being able to kind of stay calm even when things are getting intense.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, it's important to be aware of the other party's emotions.
Oh, okay. So reading those nonverbal cues.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you see that the other party's getting upset or angry,
Yeah.
you might want to take a break
Okay.
or try to de-escalate the situation.
Right. Kind of bring the temperature down.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, finally,
Yeah.
we can overlook the importance of cultural differences.
Oh, of course, of course.
Especially in a diverse country like India.
Right.
Different cultures have different norms, different
Mhm.
values,
Sure.
different communication styles.
Right, right. So what might be, perfectly acceptable in one culture
Yeah.
might completely offensive in another.
Exactly. Exactly. And this can have a big impact
Yeah.
on negotiations.
So being sensitive to that, to those cultural differences.
Yeah, it's very important to be culturally aware
Right.
and to be sensitive to the other party's culture.
So it's kind of like traveling to a new country.
Yeah.
You need to learn the customs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You need to learn the language.
Right.
You need to learn the etiquette.
Right.
And you need to be respectful of the local culture.
Yeah.
So the same applies to negotiations.
All right. That makes sense. So we've talked about these roadblocks, these potential pitfalls, but even, the most skilled negotiator is gonna hit some bumps in the road. How do we kind of get past those moments where, it feels like things are falling apart?
So, even the best negotiators
Right?
sometimes hit a roadblock.
Okay.
And the important thing is to be able to, recognize the signs of a deadlock
Okay.
and to have strategies for dealing with it.
Okay. So how do we know when that's happening, when we've hit that point where, it's like we're just banging our heads against the wall?
So some of the signs of a deadlock are, when the conversation starts going in circles,
Okay.
when the parties start repeating the same arguments over and over again.
Right, right. Like a broken record.
Yeah, exactly. When, the positions start to harden
Okay.
and there's no willingness to compromise.
So that flexibility is gone. Everybody's just dug in their heels.
Yeah, exactly. And, when the emotions start to run high.
Oh, right, right. So you can see that temperature rising.
Yeah, yeah. So these are some of the signs of a deadlock.
And so how do we kind of change the music?
Yeah.
Get things moving again?
So there are a number of techniques that you can use to break a deadlock.
Okay.
One technique is to reframe the problem.
Okay. What does that mean?
So, instead of focusing on the points of disagreement, you try to find some common ground or shared interests.
Oh, okay. So you shift the focus.
Yeah, exactly. You try to find something that both parties can agree on.
Okay, that makes sense. So
Mm.
so instead of focusing on what's, pulling us apart, you find that thread that connects us.
Exactly, exactly. And, another technique is to brainstorm alternative solutions.
Okay.
So, instead of getting stuck on the initial positions
Right, right.
that the parties have taken,
Right.
you try to come up with some new ideas.
So it's kind of like expanding the pie.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And you can do this by, you know, asking open-ended questions,
Okay.
by, encouraging the other party to think outside the box,
Got it.
by being creative yourself.
So it's a collaborative thing.
Yeah, it should be a collaborative process.
Okay. And sometimes I think we just need to like step away for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that something you recommend?
Yeah, taking a break
Mhm.
can be a very effective technique.
Right, because if you're kind of stuck in that same rut,
Yeah,
sometimes you need to just like walk away, clear your head, come back.
exactly. It gives you a chance to, cool down,
Right.
to gather your thoughts.
So like hit the pause button, regroup.
Exactly. And sometimes,
Yeah.
even a short break can be enough
Right.
to, to get the negotiation back on track.
Okay, that makes sense. What about, and I know this is probably, something you don't want to do all the time,
Yeah.
but sometimes is it helpful to bring in like a third party?
Yeah. So if the parties are really unable to break the deadlock themselves,
Right.
then they can seek external help.
Okay.
So this could be in the form of a mediator
Okay.
or an arbitrator.
Got it. Got it. So someone who's kind of neutral
Yeah.
can help kind of mediate the conversation.
Exactly. And the mediator can, help the parties to communicate more effectively,
Yep.
to understand each other's perspectives, and to
Okay.
come up with creative solutions.
So they can kind of be that bridge
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
to get everybody communicating again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we've talked about kind of these roadblocks and how to get past them,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about, and I know you touched on this earlier, but what are those qualities that can make someone a really effective negotiator?
So apart from, having the right skills and tactics,
Right.
there are also certain personal qualities
Okay.
that can make you a more effective negotiator.
Okay.
And these qualities, they can be developed
Okay.
with practice.
So it's not like you're just born with it. You can actually learn these things.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So some of the qualities that I think are important
Yes.
for negotiators are, first and foremost, empathy.
Empathy. And what do we mean by that?
So empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, in a negotiation,
Yeah.
it's important to be able to see things from the other party's perspective,
Got it.
to understand their needs and interests.
Even if you don't agree with them.
even if you don't agree with them.
Okay, so really being able to put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That makes sense. What else?
Another quality is patience.
Patience. Oh, yeah, I can see that. Especially in you know, legal matters, things can take a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lots of paperwork, lots of back and forth.
And negotiations can be very time-consuming.
Sure.
It's not uncommon for negotiations to drag on
Right.
for weeks or even months.
So you've got to be able to kind of play the long game.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. What about, and this might seem a little strange,
Yeah.
but what about a sense of humor?
Yeah, a sense of humor is very important.
Okay. Now, but in negotiation, how does that even play in?
So, a sense of humor can help to diffuse tension.
Oh, good.
It can help to build rapport.
Right. So, even though it's a serious matter,
Yeah.
you can still kind of, make a joke, lighten the mood.
Exactly. Exactly. And it also helps to, remind everyone
Yeah.
that they're human beings.
Right, right. Not just, robots arguing with each other.
Exactly. And, another quality that's important
Yeah.
is confidence.
Confidence. Okay.
Okay.
And how does, obviously that's important in anything, but how does that play into a negotiation?
So, when you're confident,
Yeah.
you're more likely to be assertive.
Okay.
You're more likely to stand your ground.
Got it.
And you're more likely to get what you want.
So it kind of projects this, like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm prepared.
Exactly. Exactly. But at the same time,
Yeah.
confidence should not be mistaken for arrogance.
Right, right. There's
Yep.
a fine line there.
Yeah, there's a fine line. You need to be confident,
Sure.
but you also need to be respectful of the other party.
Got it.
And you need to be willing to listen to their point of view.
So it's that kind of that balance again.
Yeah.
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 So these are some of the personal qualities
Yeah.
that I think are important for negotiators.
Okay, so, beyond the actual tactics
Oh, yeah.
and the moves, it's also about who you are as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. And these qualities, as I said,
Yeah.
they can be developed
Right.
with practice.
So we can all work on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good, good, good. Now, I think it's important to also talk about, obviously we're talking about law students here.
Yes.
We're talking about the legal profession. Ethics is a big part of this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some of the ethical considerations that we need to keep in mind as negotiators?
So some of the ethical considerations that are important in negotiations are, first and foremost, honesty. As a negotiator,
Right.
it's important to be truthful.
Okay.
It's important to be transparent.
Got it.
And it's important to act in good faith.
So, not misrepresenting the facts.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't want to mislead the other party
Right.
or make promises that you can't keep.
Right. You want to
Yeah.
make sure that what you're saying is the truth.
Yeah. And also, you should not use any deceptive tactics
Okay.
to try and gain an advantage.
Right. Right. So playing by the rules, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So honesty is paramount. What else?
Another important ethical consideration is confidentiality.
Okay.
Negotiations often involve
Yeah.
sensitive information.
Sure.
That should be kept confidential.
So things that are shared in the negotiation stay in the negotiation.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You should not disclose
Right.
any confidential information
Got it.
to anyone who's not authorized to receive it.
Okay. So respecting that privacy, respecting those boundaries.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
What else? Another consideration is avoiding conflicts of interest.
Oh. Okay. And how might that come up in a negotiation?
So, if you have a conflict of interest,
Yeah.
it means that your personal interests
Right.
might conflict with your professional duty.
Oh, I see, I see. So making sure that your own personal interests don't get in the way
Exactly. Exactly.
what you're supposed to be doing.
And if you do have a conflict of interest,
Yeah.
it's important to disclose it to the other party.
So be upfront about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about just in terms of fairness?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that the negotiation is fair to everybody?
So fairness is another important ethical consideration.
Okay.
And it basically means that, you should treat the other party
Right.
with respect.
Okay.
You should be willing to listen to their point of view. And you should try to reach a solution.
That's fair to both sides.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. You shouldn't try to take advantage of the other party.
Right.
or to use your power,
Okay.
to coerce them into doing something that they don't want to do.
So even if you have, let's say, a stronger position,
Yeah.
you don't want to kind of abuse that power.
Exactly, exactly. And, finally,
Yeah.
I would say that professionalism
Okay.
is very important.
Okay. And kind of how would you define that?
So professionalism, encompasses a lot of things.
Okay.
But essentially, it's about acting in a way that reflects well on you
Right.
and on your profession.
Got it.
So, you should always be courteous. You
Ooh.
should always be respectful.
Okay.
You should always be ethical.
So really being, a good representative of the legal
No,
profession.
exactly.
I like that.
Yeah,
All right. Well, this has been so helpful. I mean, we've really covered a lot of ground here.
absolutely.
Um, but I think it's important to kind of now shift ears a little bit
Yeah.
and talk about how this applies specifically to law students.
Okay.
They're sitting here listening to all of this and they're thinking, well, this is great, but what about me?
Yeah.
How do I use this?
So, as a law student,
Yeah.
you might be wondering how you can develop your negotiation skills,
Right.
and how you can put them into practice.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah.
So where do they even begin?
So there are a number of things
Yeah.
that you can do.
Okay.
First of all, you can take part in moot court competitions.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So that's kind of like the practice ground.
Yeah, exactly. Moot court is a great way to, get some practical experience.
Right, right. Before you're in an actual courtroom.
Exactly. And you'll have to, negotiate with the other side.
Right.
You'll have to make arguments. You'll have to persuade the judges.
So it's really putting all those skills into practice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Another thing you can do
Yeah.
is to volunteer
Oh, okay.
at a legal aid clinic.
Got it.
At a legal aid clinic,
Right,
you'll be dealing with real clients.
right. With real problems.
Yeah. And you'll have to, negotiate on their behalf.
So it's kind of getting that real world experience.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll also get to see how experienced lawyers
Right.
negotiate.
So it's like, having a mentor in a way.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. And I think, we talked about internships earlier.
Yeah.
I think that's another area where those negotiation skills can really come in handy.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're applying for internships, you'll often have to negotiate
Yeah, okay.
the terms of the internship.
So not just kind of taking whatever they offer you,
Mm.
but actually being able to negotiate those details.
Yeah, exactly. You can negotiate the length of the internship,
Okay.
the type of work that you'll be doing,
Okay.
the stipend.
Got it. So, being proactive, taking charge of your internship experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And this is all good practice
Right.
for when you start working as a lawyer.
Right, because negotiation is a big part of being a lawyer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
And, another thing that law students can do is to read books and articles.
Oh, okay. So kind of, doing your research.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of great resources available
Okay.
that can teach you about negotiation skills.
Got it.
And you can also attend workshops and seminars.
So kind of immersing yourself in the world of negotiation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That makes sense. And I think, one of the things we talked about earlier is, kind of finding your style
Yeah,
and being adaptable. I think that's really key too, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no one right way to negotiate.
Right.
The best approach will vary depending on the situation,
Okay.
the parties involved, and a number of other factors. So it's
Yeah.
important to be flexible
Yeah.
and to be able to adapt your style
Got it.
as needed.
So it's almost like being, back to that dance analogy.
Yeah.
You have to know the steps,
Yeah,
but you also have to be able to kind of freestyle,
exactly.
Yeah.
You need to be able to, improvise.
right? And respond to your partner.
Yeah, and to read the situation.
Okay, that makes sense. So as we kind of wrap things up here,
Yeah.
any final thoughts for our aspiring legal eagles out there?
So, I would just say that negotiation is a skill
Okay.
that takes time and practice to develop.
Okay.
So don't get discouraged
Right.
if you don't get it right away.
Sure.
Just keep practicing
Got it.
and keep learning.
So it's an ongoing process.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's a lifelong journey.
All right. I like that. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this incredible information with us today.
You're welcome.
I think our law students out there have a lot to think about, a lot to work on. But this is definitely an important skill to develop.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners out there, that's your deep dive on negotiation, hopefully making you feel more confident and prepared to tackle any bargaining table that comes your way. Remember, practice makes perfect, or at least, gets you closer to perfect. So get out there and start negotiating. And before we go, just a little something to think about. What do you think your personal negotiation style is? Think about it. Maybe try out some of those tactics we talked about and see what works best for you. Thanks for tuning in to Lex Talks. Be sure to subscribe and keep learning with us.